What's up everybody, welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony, let's jump in. Okay, happy Wednesday everybody. The Beijing Winter Olympics start in less than 30 days. The government is now focused on ensuring a smooth period until the end of the games. We should expect a general tightening of restrictions across the country, even over Chinese New Year, and more trigger-happy local officials whenever new COVID cases are found. Indeed, there are currently 2 cities under full strict lockdown, and at least 2 more are well on the way. More on this soon. As part of the countdown to the games, General Secretary Xi Jinping yesterday inspected some of the facilities. State-run Xinhua media reports that Xi visited the National Speed Skating Oval, Main Media Center, Athletes Village, Game Time Operations Command Center, and Winter Sports Training Base. Quote, learning about games preparatory work as well as Chinese athletes' preparations for the games. End quote. Protocols for the 2020 Winter Olympics require all athletes to submit 2 negative PCR tests shortly before entering China. Commentators have observed that this policy would put any athlete who contracts the virus between now and the start of the games at risk of essentially being disqualified, as PCR tests can also pick up small traces of the virus after a patient has recovered. And speaking of the virus, on Wednesday morning, this morning, Xi'an's Communist Party committee announced that the director and party chief of the Xi'an Big Data Resources Administration has been suspended for quote-unquote dereliction of duty after the system behind the critical local health code app crashed for a second time this week. Meanwhile, COVID-19 cases in Xi'an fell to their lowest level in weeks today, Wednesday. However, the lockdown is still very much in place, and there are now fresh concerns in the city about the number of people being moved to centralized quarantine facilities outside the city. We've also seen the city of Yuzhou, that is Yu, not to be confused with Yu, in Henan province, put under lockdown, as well as a partial lockdown in Zhengzhou, also in Henan. Yuzhou is rushing to build 5,000 quarantine rooms today. Also, the port city of Ningbo in East China's Zhejiang province has shut down parts of the city due to the discovery of 23 infections over the last 2 days. In a research note to investors from Goldman Sachs published yesterday, the bank expressed that China could retain its tight border restrictions for the whole of the year and even into 2023, and that, quote, reports that vaccines made by domestic firm Sinovac Biotech Limited offer limited protection against the Omicron variant will likely reinforce China's resolve to stick with its COVID-0 strategy. End quote. This is largely consistent with what we have been talking about on here for several months now. Meanwhile, political risk consulting firm Eurasia Group, in a special 2022 risk report published on Monday, predicts that China's zero-case COVID policy will fail to contain infections in 2022, which will lead to larger outbreaks and more severe lockdowns. Indeed, Eurasia Group believes the potential failure of China's zero-COVID policy is the biggest global risk of 2022. We will find out in the coming weeks and coming months whether they are correct in this analysis or not. On Tuesday, yesterday, in another step in Beijing's campaign to force the technology sector to get into line, China announced that it is rolling out new regulations to rein in algorithms used on apps to recommend what consumers would like to read, watch, play, and buy online. Chinese financial media outlet Yicai reports that the new rules mainly focus on the use of algorithms in data filtering systems to predict and influence consumer tendencies. Quote, they include personalized push notifications, ranking and sorting, screening and decision-making. As such, they should not offer consumers biased services such as varying prices based on their spending habits. End quote. The app operators who extensively use algorithm recommendations in their platforms, including e-commerce giant Alibaba Group Holdings and on-demand delivery services provider Meituan, are, quote, directed by the new regulation to promote positive energy and allow consumers to decide personalized recommendations generated buy their services. The regulations will take effect on March the 1st. Hong Kong-based South China Morning Post published an excellent piece about one of China's more ambitious large-scale investment projects under Xi Jinping's flagship foreign policy, the Belt and Road Initiative. Quote, most of the massive investments are concentrated in the Suez Canal economic zone, made up of 6 ports and 4 industrial estates, which has attracted many businesses making building materials, high-voltage equipment, machinery, and petroleum equipment, end quote. The report observes that within the zone, China has built a 3-square-mile manufacturing hub called Teda Suez City, from which Chinese companies have been setting up industries to serve markets in the Middle East and Europe through the Suez Canal, a waterway which China has in recent years become the largest user of. According to the so-called Advisory Council of the Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation, the first phase of Teda Suez has attracted 85 enterprises with total investment of over $1 billion. The second phase started construction in 2016 and has seen over $200 million in investment. China's controversial Belt and Road Initiative has seen some slowdown in recent years, caused by a mixture of factors, including the disruptions of the pandemic, increased international scrutiny of the policy in certain countries, and increased domestic concern within China itself regarding the financial sustainability of some projects. However, despite all this, statements from key leaders, including General Secretary Xi Jinping himself, suggest that the Belt and Road Initiative is here to stay. Indeed, with the Belt and Road Initiative, Egypt is seeing many projects. In addition to the Teda Suez, the massive state-owned enterprise China State Construction Engineering Corporation is building the central business district of Egypt's new administrative capital. And last up, the Evergrande Crisis. Quickly, if you're enjoying the episode, don't forget to hit the like button. It's the only way this video can be shown to new people. And if you're watching this for the first time, you're getting some value from the episode, maybe consider subscribing, hit that bell notification, and you'll have the most up-to-date analysis when I release these every day. Over the last few days, we've been talking about the order for Evergrande to demolish 39 apartment blocks within 10 days on a tropical island in Danzhou. Apartment blocks tied to a huge project valued at over $25 billion. After watching this development unfold this week, I think I can speculate that this may ultimately end up being a de facto land confiscation from the local government. We also may be about to see a scramble of sorts from local governments across the country to claw back land from the crisis-hit developer if it becomes apparent that the developer is to be dismembered. Indeed, this is not the first land confiscation that we have seen with Evergrande in the last few months, legitimate or otherwise. We remember that in mid-December, several weeks ago, local authorities in the provincial capital of Sichuan, Chengdu, said that they were to confiscate 2 land sites from Evergrande without compensation due to the land remaining idle since 2010 and 2011. A few days earlier, 8 land plots in southern Haikou City were taken by local authorities. In September 2, a city in central Anhui province took parcels of land from Evergrande for, quote, failing to pay land fees, end quote. These are just a few cases, but if in the coming months Evergrande and maybe others see a scramble for land take place, central government regulators would likely view it with justified concern, as a scramble would create all sorts of financial instability, risks, and smash already demoralized investor confidence in the property development sector. At the very least, it would be much more difficult for creditors to gauge the true state of the financial health of Evergrande and other developers for that matter. Now, this may not happen at all. In fact, the Danzhou order may simply be a local political issue. We know, for example, that the Danzhou project was backed by the former mayor of Danzhou, who was later arrested and sentenced in 2020 to life in prison over bribery charges connected to development projects. Meanwhile, yesterday, Tuesday, approximately 100 investors in financial products issued by China Evergrande Group protested outside the company's offices in Guangzhou for several hours. Also, from fresh data today, we learned that funding raised by Chinese property developers was 26% lower in 2021 than in 2020, and that a quarter of this funding came from foreign investors. Hey guys, I'd love to hear what you thought about some of the updates we covered in today's episode, so throw your comments below. Always love hearing from you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.